My name is Brad Goodrich. I work for the fire department here at the facility, and today we're going to give you guys an extinguisher class. Just something real basic, not too detailed, something that you guys can remember not only for the workplace, but possibly take it home as well. One of the most important things I want you to remember is if there's a fire, whether at the house or whether here in the workplace, remember first of all, if anybody else is around you, let them know that there's a fire. Get everybody out. That's the most important thing before you even try and extinguish the fire. All right? Hopefully you can find that fire in one of the first stages as it starts burning, and that's the idea of using an extinguisher. You're going to be the first one there. You're going to be able to put out the fire before it has a chance to grow. See if I can sit out of your way a little bit. Basically, there's three classes of fire. We have A, ordinary combustibles. That's going to be like, it's going to be paper, trash, everything that's in your trash cans and the dumpsters, wood. We have B, flammable liquids. I don't know how many of you that deals with flammable liquids, but it'll be like gasoline, stuff like that. C, electrical. It'll be all your electrical appliances, computers. And the last is D, combustible metals. Most of you don't have to concern yourself with combustible metals unless you work with it in like one of the plating shops or one of the machine shops around here. What you have to understand is that there's a specific extinguisher for each type of fire, and the ideal extinguisher that you want to use on each type of fire. For an example, we have an A fire, which is like trash and anything, like I said, that's going to be in your trash cans. Mostly we use water. That's the best thing. Water is one of the best extinguishing agents that we have. It takes the heat out of the fire, knocks the fire down really, really fast, okay? You want to realize that you don't want to use a water extinguisher on something like flammable liquids or electrical and stuff like that. You got to understand that it's like standing in a puddle of water and plugging a toaster in, you're going to get electrocuted. And the same thing with trying to put out a gasoline fire with a water extinguisher. This is a pressurized stream. It's going to go about 20-25 feet, and it could splash the liquid and make a bigger fire to begin with. With our flammable liquid fires, it'd be like gasoline and stuff, we have a B-type extinguisher. That'd be something like our CO2 extinguisher right here. All right, that type of extinguisher, basically what that's going to do is that's going to exclude the oxygen, which is the air that we breathe, that's helping that fire burn. Real fast, also a C electrical fire. You can also use the CO2 on electrical fire. One thing to remember is anytime you have an electrical fire, unplug the appliance first. Put a glove on, grab something, maybe wooden like a broomstick or something, try and knock the plug out of the wall. You don't want to necessarily go right up to that socket and grab that plug and pull it out, because you could get shocked or electrocuted yourself. But you got to remember the reason why that electrical appliance is on fire is because it's energized, it's plugged into the power source. So you need to eliminate that power source, and then it just becomes the fire by itself, and we can knock that down. Some of here's a good example of these extinguishers you probably see around this place is the silver can is your water extinguisher right here. As I said, that's for your A-type fires, all your ordinary combustibles. We have a CO2, which is the big red one right here. These are really heavy. They're about 40-45 pounds. So, you know, if you're a gal or something, or you're going to have a hard time lifting this, you might want to realize that, you know, it is going to be heavy. It's hard to get off the wall sometimes. Maybe a second option would be to look over here at the ABC. We have something called a dry chem. It's a multi-purpose. If you ever take the time out to look on that extinguisher, it'll say ABC on it. That's really user-friendly. They designed this extinguisher to eliminate all three types of fires. Trash fires, flammable liquids, and electrical. You're really safe using that type of extinguisher. Don't get the ABC confused with this little guy right here. This is a halon. If you read on it, it says halon on it in green. This is supposed to be used for electrical or computer fires only. We'll demonstrate in a little bit pretty much how a halon won't put anything else except electrical fires and computer fires out. You got to realize there's three things in order to start a fire. One has to be heat, the other has to be fuel, and the other one has to be oxygen. You eliminate any one of those three, and you're going to eliminate the fire. By using the A extinguisher, we're going to be taking the heat out of the fire. Therefore, we're not going to have a fire. By using the BC or the B-type extinguisher, which is the CO2, we're going to eliminate the heat and the oxygen. CO2 is real cold. It'll start to cool down the surface temp, but whatever's burning, it's going to exclude the oxygen at that source of where that fire is burning. The multi-purpose, the ABC, basically, that's not going to take the heat out. It's not going to eliminate the fuel, but what it is going to do is it's going to blanket the top of the fire. It's going to smother it, and it's going to exclude all the oxygen, and it's going to put that fire out. Again, the halon by itself, that one ain't going to do anything. It's not going to take the heat out. It's not going to take the fuel out. the halon itself will also exclude the oxygen. It'll help the fire burn out. It's not saying also that that fire might not rekindle. Remember, anytime you put out any type of fire, whether it be ordinary combustible, an electrical, or anything like that, don't turn your back on it, especially if it's a paper fire or something like that. Take the time out, root out that paper fire a little bit, and finish extinguishing it. Sometimes that heat gets real deep-seated in some of those fires. That's the reason why I started in the first place. Dig that out, cool it down, don't turn your back on it. A lot of times they'll restart up. There's an acronym that we use. It's called PASS, P-A-S-S, and that stands for pull pin, aim, squeeze, and sweep. And that's the way we execute using an extinguisher. First of all, we pull the pin. If you notice on a lot of these, we have a small zip tie that's holding the pin in place. A lot of times it might be kind of hard for you to pull that pin out. You got to twist it and then pull. It'll break. It's pretty easy. Also, you want to aim. If you read on the back of the extinguisher, you might not have the time enough to read it before you put out the fire, but a lot of times they'll say stand back 8 to 10 feet. There's a reason why it says that, all right? Because a lot of times it's like, we'll demonstrate in a little bit, you can splash that fire, you can make it worse than what it is. The next thing you want to do is just squeeze. On the bottom of these, any of the bottom of the handles right here, this doesn't move. It's the top. On all these, it's always the top. So I can hold this right like this. It's not going to go anywhere. Anytime you carry an extinguisher, carry it from the bottom, not from the top. Once you pull the pin, you can push down on this, and that's what's going to discharge your extinguisher. All right? And the last thing, like I said, is sweep. Anytime we put out a fire, you don't want to point it right at the base and direct a stream straight at it. You want to use a sweeping motion. You want to work up to the fire. What you're trying to do is you're trying to push that back, you're trying to blanket, and you're trying to cool that whole area down. What we're going to do right now is we're going to light some of these fires, and we'll show you basically each type of fire and how we're going to extinguish it. Something that's really important too is you might want to take a look in your work area and see the type of things that you deal with, and look at the extinguishers that are provided around you, and realize if I had a fire right here, what extinguisher am I going to grab, you know? But remember also, don't forget to call the fire department, you know, if anything, because not always, you know, you might have one of these, you might not be able to catch it in time, and sometimes it grows. And like I said, that goes for your home as well. You know, before anything, always dial 911, always call the fire department, make sure people are out first. That's the first concern with anything, is life safety, and we want those people out of there before you try and do anything. Something I want to tell you about this halon, because it does exclude oxygen in your area, and let's say you work in a small area that has a lot of computers in it, and you get a computer fire. When I say I want the people out of that area first, halon excludes oxygen. You get a lot of halon in the air, you ain't got no oxygen in the air, you're gonna have a hard time breathing, okay? Even though that's a little extinguisher like that, let's say you have 2 or 3 of them, people start discharging that into that area, you're not gonna have any air left in that room for yourself to breathe. Yeah, the fire's gonna be out, but you're gonna pass out as well. So, most of you at home probably have this type of extinguisher, this ABC extinguisher. This is real popular. They're made by companies such as Kidd. Somewhere you can go like Home Depot and pick this type of extinguisher up. Yeah. You want to do that flammable liquid first? You use that on it and use this. You going to use flammable liquid? Okay. What we're going to light off first is we're going to light a flammable liquid fire. We have gasoline and diesel fuel over here. And we'll show you. This would be typical as if you're in the garage and working on something, and I don't know, you splash gas somewhere, or it could even be cooking oil. You know, you could be cooking on the stove. A lot of people like to cook with peanut oil. Well, once peanut oil reaches ignition temperature, you got a fire on the stove all of a sudden. No, let's not put the water in it, otherwise it'll splash it. Something also that you notice where we had all you guys stand, see which way the wind's blowing? Always stand upwind or whatever's burning. Take a minute. It's not worth your own safety to sit there and try and hurry up and put out this fire. If you notice, he worked his way up to the fire. He didn't get right up next to it. With that type of extinguisher as well, even though it's a compressed gas, it doesn't matter. If you get real close up to that fire and you point that nozzle right into that fire, that stuff is still gonna splash, you know? It could be in the corner of your garage, it could be in the corner of your workplace. It's confined to a little area. As soon as you hit it with that, it's gonna splash. You're gonna have a bigger fire in your hand. It could splash on you and burn you as well. And also, you notice after you put out the fire, he backed out. He didn't turn his back on it and walk away. It'll bite you in the butt. That's one thing we say about fire. Don't turn your back on it. It will bite you in the butt. What he's doing right now, he's pouring gasoline on top of the diesel. We use diesel fuel because diesel doesn't catch on fire till it almost reaches 800 degrees. But yet gasoline burns at 36 degrees below zero. That means 36 degrees below zero, gasoline is actually ignitable. All it needs is an ignition source to be able to light. So what we do is we use the diesel and then we use the gasoline on top of it. The gasoline lights like that, heats the diesel up to its ignition temperature, and then we get a hot fire burning. It burns a little bit faster. Gasoline does burn off pretty fast, by the way. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and use that. Something I want to talk about this fire triangle real fast while he's lighting this. You know, there really is no way to remove the fuel from the fire also, you know, unless it's a burning pillow or a mattress or something like that. You can actually remove it from the area and take it outside to where it's safe. The only way to remove the fuel is to actually let the fuel source burn out. Like I said, if it's gasoline, it'll burn out like that depending upon the quantity of it. What it'll show you right now is if you get too close with this dry chem, as I was talking before, you're going to see this splash. If you look on it, it'll say 8 to 10 feet as well. You see how that kind of went over the edge of the pan right there? You don't want that. So then he backs off again, and he just sweeps it real easy to the top. It forms a protective layer on top. Once that gets heated, that dry chem forms an actual crust on top of whatever was burning, excludes the oxygen and puts the fire out. Sure, we got these right here. Let's show this right here. Yeah. Okay, so we showed you right now that any type of flammable liquid fire, you can use a CO2 and you can use a dry chem. As I said, a dry chem is ABC, puts out all 3 types of fires. Now we're going to show you what not to grab. That's why I say it's really important to distinguish between a halon and a dry chem. Halon being used for electrical only. It's real wet, it's cold, and it evaporates like that. Well, maybe I'm wrong. It worked. Right on. Well, anyway, don't do it. Better than anything. Call me wrong. Yeah, let's go to that wood fire. I think it was water. Yeah, let it get cooking for a minute so it gets ripping. Show everything on this too. Try the halon again. Maybe this time he won't prove me wrong. He'll try a halon again on a regular combustible fire. All right, anyways, as you notice, most of these extinguishers, like the halon, you get about 10 seconds of extinguishment out of each one of these, whatever chemical they have put in them. So you got to figure you got 8 to 10 seconds to try and put this fire out with that one particular extinguisher you have in your hand.
You want to do just water?
No, that'll douse it. Why don't you go ahead and use a CO2. As I said, I was proved wrong on the halon. Well, it didn't work for us before, but something to remember, we're saying I did.